Inclusion does not mean you've met your goal of equity. True equitable inclusion is a strategy for you to be one step closer to understand belonging, to be able to actually measure belonging, to ultimately get to the goal of equity. Welcome. You might be new to our series. You might be joining us for the first time, and you might be old friends that have been with us for the last few months. But we're hoping to sort of explore with you the top barriers that we've named in preventing equitable inclusion. And all of this is available to you through our inclusion guide. So go on to Ed Element's webpage and go ahead and download the guide, because we can't really cover all the things in our guide. Let's go ahead and get started talking about equitable inclusion. Dorica Blackman once said, "Diversity is fact, inclusion is a strategy, belonging is a measure, and equity is the goal." Inclusion does not mean you've met your goal of equity, but true equitable inclusion is a strategy for you to be one step closer to understand belonging, to be able to actually measure belonging, to ultimately get to the goal of equity, right? And so if you are hoping to get to a goal of equity, know that you have to really take a magnifying glass up against your inclusion strategy. Questions we get a lot is, so we've been working on including the voices of insert the stakeholder of various districts, schools, and communities, but we really aren't seeing progress. We hold town halls, right? We make information available. We're trying, we want to bring people, we invite people, we have these opportunities where we're not hearing the voices we want to hear, or we're not getting the information we want. So what we say to you is the engagement line, the engagement of your parents or any stakeholder group, is the line that fluctuates, that reveals your iceberg. Everything that you see that you could figure out, like they're not here, they're not feeling included, they're not feeling their needs are met. Those are the things that we actively see, feel, hear. They're probably the ones that you hear from surveys. They're probably the ones that you're missing the voice. Those are the things above the iceberg. Everything below the line is what some may feel, may hear, may see, but not the collective. And what we're saying today is that, yes, there is this great iceberg. Yes, these are all true, but everything that drives the exclusion system are the conditions that are invisible. And so if you really want to think about equitable inclusion, it is really thinking about what is causing exclusion, right? And we're really thinking about what are the conditions that people can't explicitly name that is causing exclusion amongst groups. And so if you're here today, you're investing in your own learning, here are the 4 challenges you're probably feeling that are making it really hard to create equitable inclusion. The first challenge is you're probably helping people translate equity from theory into practice. The number one thing we hear is we have a book study, right? But then whatever comes out of the book study sometimes is really hard, because it's difficult to transfer theory into practice if you don't have someone with you guiding that transfer of practice. And that challenge is because of the second challenge. We are highly susceptible to unaccounted bias, power, privilege, and conditions. So if I'm reading a book, but I haven't unpacked all my biases, my power, my privilege, my conditions, when I try to apply the learnings from the book, I need someone there to call me out and help me see the hidden blind spots. And if that structure isn't there, it's going to be a challenge towards equity, because people will be taking action and they're like, I read it from this book. And then it's like, no, that may not be the intent of what the author wanted you to translate. The third challenge is it takes a really long time to show impact, right? Big, robust equity redesign will take time to show the impact, and it also requires you to redefine the measure of impact. And just from the quote at the very beginning, we talked about how sense of belonging is a measurement towards how you're going towards your goal. How are you measuring belonging? And if that measurement of belonging is based on historical norms, but not the reality of the marginalized, then you're actually measuring your impact in a different way. And the last challenge is that solutions are really hard to scale and replicate, and they're very dependent on intersectionality of factors. Those things, even if it's within your same district, you could take a solution that happened on your team that you designed that created great results and put it in a different system or a different team, and it may not actually get the same. It may actually go a little backwards. And so the hardest thing we hear from people is give us what's worked? Tell us what's worked. And it's here's what's potentially worked, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for you. So the process of scaling is going to take a little bit longer.